Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Lynchburg. We are glad you are here.
Can you increase the sound a little bit, Joan? Thank you. Sorry to bother you.
That's good.
Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Joan Lewis Yoder. I'm a member of the church and serve on the nominating committee. If you are with us for the first time, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for this church community we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card found on our website, uulynchburg.org, under Sunday services, or fill out the yellow card found in the back of the chair in front of you and place it in the offering basket during the offering. We are all invited to the synagogue on Thursday morning at 9:30 for a service of unity and reflection. Makana Morris will represent our congregation, as Reverend Terry will be in South Carolina. Please take note of the announcements in the bulletin, and if you are on Zoom, you can find them on the Friday e-news. Now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths.
Okay, you gotta unmute.
Flame of our chalice, sharing these words. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. I invite us now to rise in body or spirit as we share together hymn number 346. to invite the children and all the young at heart up here, because Courtney told me about this really neat book, and I haven't seen it or read it, so I want y'all to come up here so I can learn about this book today. Yay!
So today we're going to hear a story about a crayon who goes through a very important change. And so I'm so excited to see what this crayon can become. And for those of you here, if you want to look up at the screen, we're going to watch a video of the story.
Red, a Crayon Story by Michael Hall. He was red, but he wasn't very good at it. Oh dear. His teachers thought he needed more practice. I'll draw a red strawberry, then you draw a red strawberry. You can do this, really. But he couldn't, really. Like this? Oh my, let's try again. His mother thought he needed to mix with other colors. Why don't you two go out and draw a nice round orange? A really big one. A really orange one. But they made a big greenish one. Yuck! Oops. His grandparents thought he wasn't warm enough. Your class is making self-portraits for Parents' Night. Wear this warm red scarf. Nice! It's so you. But it so wasn't. Oh, dear me. Everyone seemed to have something to say. Sometimes I wonder if he's really red at all. Don't be silly. It says red on his label. He came that way from the factory. Frankly, I don't think he's very bright. Well, I think he's lazy. Right. He's got to press harder. Really apply himself. Give him time. He'll catch on. Of course he will. But he didn't catch on. Green frog, black sheep, brown cow, red ack. All the art supplies wanted to help. The masking tape thought he was broken inside. This will help hold you together. The scissors thought his label was too tight. One snip should do it. I thought he wasn't sharp enough. Stay still now. But even with all her help and all his hard work, he just couldn't get the hang of it. One day, he met a new friend. Will you make a blue ocean for my boat? I can't. I'm red. Will you try? So he did. Thank you. It's perfect. You're welcome. It was easy. And he didn't stop there. Bluebells, blue jeans, blue bird, blueberries, blue whale. I'm blue. He was blue, and everyone was talking. My son is brilliant. Who could have known he was blue? I always said he was blue. It was obvious. His blue ocean really lifted me. All of his work makes me happy. His blue strawberries are my favorite. He's so intense. I'm going to make a green lizard with him, a really big one. I hear he's working on a huge new project. He's really reaching for the sky. And he really was. The end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Videos come out daily, so please subscribe. Thanks, friends, and see you next time.
What did you think about that crayon? They realized it was really blue, huh? It just had the wrong label. Yeah. And all of his friends were happy once he figured out he was really blue instead of red. All right, are we ready to go upstairs for class time? Okay.
The Reverend Lynn Cox wrote this poem entitled, well, actually it's a prayer entitled, Bring Us Close to the Earth. Ground of our being, root of unified mystery, growing into myriad branches of expression. Bring us together now. Bring us close to the earth, ear to the whispering grass, quietly, attentively, waiting with slow breaths, listening for the very stones to cry out with their rocky stories of tectonic plates meeting and parting meeting, their mineral memories of Hadean days, molten rocks flowing and joining, their ancient legends of stars born out of the collapse of other stars. Help us to remember. Help us to piece together our oneness with matter, our oneness that matters. With one more deep breath, may we rise star-stuffed, walking and rolling across the surface of an impossible blue-green planet. May we join together to heal what is divided. May we find wholeness within, without, among, between. Eternal source, seed of the universe, help us to grow peace. So be it, blessed be. Amen. We take an offering of our gifts each Sunday for the work of this congregation. The monetary support of our members and friends, along with the dedication, the work, the commitment, make the congregation that we love. And so I invite you to give generously. If you're in the sanctuary, if you're on Zoom, you may send a check to the church, or let's see, go to our website and make a donation by PayPal. All of a sudden I blanked that out. is the tradition in our community to share together. We hold up today the breadth and depth of our lives, acknowledging the pain, the fear, the joy, the confusion, the commitment that are all part of each of our lives. We give thanks for this community where together we can find clarity and meaning and possibility. We hold up today those who are suffering in mind, body, or spirit, that they find healing and wholeness. We hold close to our hearts all those who have lost loved ones to gun violence. May all those who suffer find peace in the midst of their grief. We give thanks for celebrations that bring together family and friends, and may our celebrations truly honor those whose roots go deep into this earth on this continent. This we ask in the name of all that is sacred. Amen. Many thanks to Larry Simons, who sent me a poem by Alice Smith suggesting that it might be good for a service. I agree that it's an important poem for us to consider during this month when we explore the concept of change. I found that though it's short, it really holds a lot of wisdom and challenge for us. Entitled, Perhaps the Fence Will Fall. If I descend to my hands and knees and dig through my personal patch of closely held opinions, and you who live on the other side agree to do the same thing, who knows what kind of soil our digging will unearth. If we loosen the land, perhaps the fence will fall, and we might soon discover a fertile circle of common ground. I spent lots of time thinking about this, and but you don't want me to be up here long enough to explain all the rabbit holes I went down. So you get one of the rabbit holes. For most of history, humanity has divided itself, as we know, into tribes, with each tribe holding its own closely held opinions. These beliefs become the basis for the walls that separate us. But like Alice in her poem, that's not the world in which I want to live. I want to work for a more inclusive world where our tribe includes everybody. So last week, I added to my research for this service a TED Talk from our Soul Matters packet on change. The topic was, the TED Talk was entitled The Moral Roots of Liberals and Conservatives by Dr. John Haidt. It felt important because I know I can get stuck in seeing the world from my moral framework and don't often look over the wall to engage those who think very differently from me. And I thought about that during a conversation this week as Courtney, Bob, and McConna and I rode to a meeting in Charlottesville. Bob very innocently, now you have to understand that sometimes you're in a conversation with a preacher, and Frank gave me a mug for Christmas that said, "Be careful or you might end up in one of my sermons." So Bob gets to be that person today. So we were innocently driving, having a conversation, and Bob just shared that he stays in contact with people on his Facebook page whose beliefs are radically different from his own, so he can understand where the people are coming from. I'm not that enlightened. I realize that I don't often do that. I focus on much more like-minded people. And, then I realize it really doesn't broaden my understanding of the universe or other people. So the TED Talk gave me some new ideas to consider. So like if you have a problem, then what they do is go to something intellectual, right? So I was avoiding that rather than actually getting in touch with people. But the TED Talk reminded me that we often get stuck in our own moral matrix. Dr. Haidt, H-A-I-D-T, Haidt, suggests all morality has a foundation in 5 moral values. The first moral value addresses the universal need to deal with harm and care for ourselves and others. The next is a moral commitment to fairness and reciprocity. These are 2 moral precepts that, if we're liberal politically or theologically, we love those. The next 3 aren't as much fun if you're on the liberal, theological, or political spectrum. The third moral foundation relates to who is the in-group and how do we maintain loyalty in that group. Watch the news right now and you will see that in shining stars. Next comes the priority on authority and respect. I would say a lot of UUs don't rate high on giving over control to authority figures. The final moral precept is purity and sanctity. Now, this does not focus primarily on the current highlighting of sexuality, impurity, and all of that. People who are very liberal can also be focused on purity. Think about the arguments we get in about what clothes you're supposed to wear, what food you're supposed to eat. So there's a broad range of understanding of that. So as I said, traditionally liberals rank very high on the concern about harm and care and fairness and reciprocity, while conservatives rank higher on in-group loyalty, authority, and purity and sanctity. The moral values that liberals and conservatives tend to value most end up being the foundation for the kind of nation each group wants to create. This is important as we understand and consider the kind of world that Unitarian Universalists are called to create. So let's look back at our poem about digging in our own garden that trusts that others are digging in their patch so that hopefully the wall between us will eventually fall. It takes a lot of work for the people on each side of that wall and the commitment to dig and understand ourselves better so that we can understand others. What we need to consider is not what's happening on the other side of the wall so much as when we dig in our patch, what's the kind of earth that we're digging in? What is the soil like, the values, the richness of the soil? That is the earth that will hold the grounding for our ethical way of being. Are others digging in similar soil, or is their soil a different type? What I found interesting in the TED Talk was that the conclusion pointed to the need to balance some of both perspectives. Complete freedom leads to chaos. Too much authoritarianism leads to dictators and religious extremism. In this, he points out that Asian religions understand this juxtaposition of belief systems. Humanity needs openness to new experience as well as a certain amount of authority. Yin and yang create a balance. To truly work for a better world, each of us must find a way to understand the varied needs of human beings and understand that not one of us and no single group has the whole truth. What beliefs will we bring into a deeper ability to work together? Beginning, I think, with small local projects, sharing Thanksgiving morning together with other religious communities at the synagogue. That's a small act, but it's important. And then, how do we continue to join with others to make our community more inclusive? And we might also realize that this is a time for listening and introspection with humility, not to think that we have all the answers and we're right. Where is our humility that other people have ways of being in the world that we need to learn from. Digging in our own patch of dirt will mean that we need to humbly look at how our thoughts and actions help create or hinder our vision for the world we want. This is serious work for all of us. What kind of world do we want to create, recreate, and who's going to work with us? Are there bridges we can build rather than walls? How might we work with those whose moral foundation is different from our own, while still holding strong to our commitment to protect and support the most vulnerable among us? A week or so ago, I came across a short video from an organization that I believe in. It speaks to the vision I hold for our nation. It's a vision that moves us beyond our small tribal mentality of humanity to an understanding that it's possible to work the soil of human kindness and compassion to help bring down the walls that divide us. My vision of this country and the world emerges from my deep commitment to interfaith understanding. Holding this vision pushes me to examine how my thoughts and actions either hinder or help bring more understanding among people so that we can uproot walls and build bridges of understanding. Even knowing the deep divisions that divide us religiously, ethically, and socially, I believe in helping build this vision. Idealistic? Yeah, but one that holds the potential for our human family. It's a vision where we can come to understand that we are one tribe, the human tribe, diverse and imperfect, but it's worth working for.
We have before us a momentous opportunity to create the world's first truly interfaith nation. We need to build American Medina, a city on a hill, made holy by the wideness of its welcome, the strength of its bonds. Look at it shining. The Catholic university where Muslim immigrants learn, the Jewish hospital where Hindu babies are born. The eyes of the world are upon you. We need to build a Sangha whose chants of loving kindness change the climate, bridge divides and bind hearts. We need to build the beloved community where we see each other, the Baptists and Mormons who farm fields and fight fires together, the witnesses who watch over the whole block. We need to build the New Jerusalem, tents for angels to dwell, tabernacles for the tribes, 12,000, 12 million. They will not cease to be diverse. They come from across the earth, seeking the sacredness of knowing one another. Every refugee a pilgrim, every stranger a friend, until we are a nation. This interfaith America, pluralist Rashtra, diverse democracy, achieving our country, where our hopes are prophecies, where we offer Longar to our friends and our enemies, where we do not wait for sickness to pray for one another's health, where we defeat the things we do not love by building the things we do. We need to build.
So how do we build this auspicious vision that Interfaith America holds for us. How can my life, our lives, contribute to something so sacred when there is so much that divides us? I think one of the things that's essential to this is that we don't get distracted. We know there are beliefs out there that are held by others that foster hate and prejudice, hurtful beliefs we do not and will not tolerate. It's easy to focus on the people who hold these beliefs. We forget when we give these people so much of our energy, our thoughts, our time, we are focusing not on the world we wish to create, but on that which we don't want to tolerate. We're giving them our power. Perhaps it's time to refocus our time and energy on more positive and productive uses of our thoughts, digging in our own soil, finding the places where we might be stuck and our opinions divisive. Dismantling the fences begins with me examining my own closely held beliefs to unearth a more positive vision, to unearth the vision of this community and this nation that we can hold in front of us and say, this is what I want to commit my life to creating. This is what I want to give my thoughts and my time and my energy to. And, you know, we just might find out that we can build some bridges instead of walls. I want to see my vision of the world made fair and all her people one. I want that vision to become a reality. It's up to me and to us to focus on the ways we can help bring that vision into a reality, rather than giving our focus away to what we don't want to build. And there's so many guides for us, guides who can help us reground and refocus our hope and commitment. Let us look to those who have modeled for us how to work for change. I want to hold visions like the one of Dorothy Day, who said, what we would like to do is change the world, make it a little simpler for people to feed, clothe, and shelter themselves by fighting for better working conditions, by crying out unceasingly for the rights of workers, the poor, the destitute. We can, to a certain extent, change the world. We can work for the oasis, the little cell of joy and peace in a harried world. We can throw our pebble in the pond and be confident that it is an ever widening circle that will reach around the world.
Hello.
Let us rise in body or spirit as we share hymn 318, We Would Be One. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words of blessing are from Joseph Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Blessed be. Thank you. Let's just, before we go to coffee time, social time, let's just take a few minutes to sort of share any thoughts or contemplations about how we can work smarter and better to create this kind of world that we want. I ran across an article from in The Guardian from the Redding, California community that had a problem because a lot of people who were running for office were being just harassed and horrible things said about them, and police having to be on site. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? So what ended up happening is just a very small handful of people started saying, we're going to meet because we don't think this is what our community is. And so that simple act of choosing to say, we want to reclaim our community, then started a ripple effect. I tried to look up this week to see if there was any follow-up, but the good stories, there's never any follow-up. But any thoughts or?
Can you hear me from, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dick.
Okay. I was just saying, we are a liberal congregation pretty much, and we probably agree with each other on a lot of things, but I think it's important once in a while, like if you're reading the newspaper, to read a conservative columnist, to find another point of view, because it's too easy to fall in with people that agree with you. It's much harder to go and look and say, okay, what are the problems with the Democrats, as seen from the Republicans? And we all see the other one, but what are the problems? And I think it helps a little bit to try to understand and see the other point of view, put your feet in the other person's moccasins and walk in their path for a little while. At least try.
And to be stretched. I think the thing is, how open are we really to be stretched out of our comfortable mindset?
Yeah.
And are we willing to be discomforted? Yeah, that's
And we
important.
look at human beings and we have to say, we are all imperfect, and we all have to recognize that, and to say, okay, forgive me for some of the things that I've said and done.
And there's that thin line, because it's important to hear what people are saying when their values and words are very different than ours, without crossing the line of condoning behaviors and words that create violence and pain to those who are most vulnerable. So, once again, it's harder to be Unitarian Universalist. We have to struggle with these things and think about these things. So if y'all have any thoughts that come up later, please email me, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday, however and with whomever you celebrate. So I invite folks here to social time, and blessings to y'all online. And thank you, Joan. And thank you, Emily.